Greetings. Welcome to Think About It Thursday. I hope you had a great Thursday. And we have a little bit of a programming note now, and that is that we have moved the time of Think About It Thursday. As you will note, we are now moved it an hour earlier. And that's because we want to make sure that we take into consideration some of our folks on the East Coast. And also, it fits a little bit better into our schedule. So we've moved it forward, and this is where it will be moving forward. And hopefully, we won't have any other changes that has to take place um, moving forward. But that's where we are right now. So we talked about in March and April when we had our Think About It Thursdays. We talked about the do's and don'ts of how to be a good friend to a person with cancer. And we started there because in my life journey, I had a bout with cancer that was a life threatening issue. And so it was a good place to start. And out of that, we learned that there are a lot of people that wanted to help, but they didn't know how. So we decided that the first couple of months, there are a lot of great do's and don'ts that you can do. So that's what that focused on. But now, moving forward, sort of after you get through something like that, a major crisis in your life, then the question becomes how to move forward. And in my experience, I went into remission from my bout with cancer in November of 2016. So that's when they did a test to look for that I had multiple myeloma, and that's cancer of the bone marrow. It's a type of blood cancer. And when they looked for the myeloma cells in my marrow, they could not find anything down to parts per million. So at that point, I was in remission. And so then it was, well, what's next? So for me, what's next was I went into the maintenance mode, as they say, maintenance mode. And what maintenance mode is that no longer was I taking high doses of chemotherapy. I didn't have active cancer, so I didn't have to go to those extremes. So they reduced the amount of chemotherapy that I took, and that's where I am now taking, and just seeing how my body recovers from all of that and moving on. So following that same timeline that I experienced when I was going through my major bout with cancer, we're kind of taking that same path here as we're now looking at moving forward. So this month, the month of May, we're going to be having these talks a little bit about, well, what does it take to move forward? How do we move forward? So prior to moving forward, one of the things that you have to do is you have to recover. Just because you've gotten through this experience, whatever it was that you've gone through, your life crisis, mine happened to be cancer. It could be for you, it could be a divorce. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be some accident that you had, any major incident in your life that after which your life is not going to be the same. Those are those major crises in your life. Well, once you've gotten through it, once you looks like yes, you're going to make it, you're going to survive. You have to start thinking about, well, what do I need to do to move forward? So the first thing that you need to do is you need to recover. Just because you're through the crisis doesn't mean you're ready to jump up and go back and do whatever it was that you were doing before. You need to rest, and you need to recover physically, mentally, and spiritually. So take the time to recover. And part of that recovery is that you need to do some reflection. You need to do some looking back. You need to you need to do some lessons learned. So you must allow yourself time to recover before you move forward. And that's important. For me, when I did it, my goal after it was clear that I was going to survive, I wanted to get back to work. I had started my own business and I was 6 months into it and I had work to do. And then in July of 2015, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And so my fledgling business had to come to a grinding halt and I had to deal with this crisis. So after November of 2016, I was I was now thinking, well, what do I need to do to get back to work? So for me, that was my goal. So I couldn't though just jump back into it. I had to recover. If you go back too fast, you'll have a setback, and it'll take you even longer to recover. So the first thing you do is take it slow. Everyone was advising me, don't rush things, take it slow. I wanted to go faster, but I knew that I needed to listen to my body. And when it said it's time to lay down, it's time to lay down. When it said, you're okay, then I would get up and I would resume. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to allow yourself that time to recover before moving forward. Once you've done that, if you've done that, then the next thing that you need to do when you want to move forward is first thing you need to move forward is you need to realize that you have to pick up the pieces. So the Bible uses an analogy between how God relates to us as his creation and how a potter is with the clay jars that he creates. And so obviously God is the analogy is God is like the potter and we are like the clay. So if you look at that potter over his potter's wheel, he's shaping and forming this clay jar for whatever purpose he has in mind for it. So he's shaping it exactly the way he wants it to be. And that's how God shapes us. And then he sets us into action that we go and do what we are supposed to be doing, our assignment for what we were made for. But just like those clay jars, we sometimes get a little brittle. And in the case of the potter, that's what he intends, so that it'll be strong enough to do what it needs to do. But in our case, we are shaped and formed, but we need to have some flexibility. I had an uncle that said, as long as you stay a little green, there's always an opportunity for you to grow. And so we don't want to get so rigid that we don't have that flexibility and can change. But sometimes as we get into things, we become kind of rigid in what we do. And so just as if you were to have a heavy blow placed on the potter's clay jar, it shatters into pieces. And that's similar to what happens to us when we receive that crushing blow from that life crisis. We get shattered into pieces. And so in order for us to move forward, the first thing that you need to realize is that you need to pick up the pieces, that there are pieces. Your life has been changed in many different ways, and it's all over the place. And you've been so much focused on just surviving the crisis that a lot of these things have just kind of naturally, they've just kind of let go. So you have to go back and you need to pick up those pieces. So in order to move forward, that's the thing you have to do. Now, the other thing, though, that you must do when you pick up those pieces is you need to realize something else. And that something else is that, and this is a quote that I had from a friend of mine who shared this with me, is once your life has been broken into pieces, when it's time to move on, you only pick up the pieces that you need. And that was a revelation to me. And what it really says is that your life has been shattered into all these pieces, and you have to have the stuff to move on. So you got to pick up those pieces. But what you also need to realize is some of those pieces are not things that you should carry forward. Maybe they worked for you while you were in the crisis or before the crisis, but now that you're through it and you're trying to move forward, they are no longer adequate. Don't do for you what you need them to do to make them worth your while to carry them forward. So you don't want to pick up those pieces. And then there are some things that even before the crisis, they may have been a hindrance to you. So you really don't want to pick those things up either, because you don't need to carry forward extra baggage that's not going to be helpful. So that's what this Think About It Thursday is think about those pieces that you need to pick up to carry forward with you when it's time to move forward. What are those pieces? What are the good pieces? What are the pieces you should leave behind? Sometimes those pieces are about you. They could be attitudes that you have. There are some attitudes that work well. If you have a positive attitude, for example, that's something you probably want to carry forward. If you have some negative attitudes or negative thoughts, you probably don't want to carry those kinds of things forward. If you have some behaviors that you have either developed or you had before, you have to decide what behaviors are things that I should carry forward and which things I should leave behind. So you need to think about those internal things, the thoughts, the things that you value maybe even have changed because of what you've gone through. You may realize now that things aren't as important to you as they used to be. And maybe it's relationships or people, or you've realized that there's some things you should carry forward and other things you should not. So those are all internal things that you should think about. But there are also some external things, like there may be some material things that you have that really aren't useful anymore. I have, because of my multiple myeloma, I have to do zero impact exercises. I can't run, I can't jog, there's certain things I can't do. Well, I love to jump rope, and I can't jump rope anymore. So do I need to carry forward a jump rope with me if I'm not going to be jumping rope? If I just leave it up there and look at it and think about days on past when I could jump rope? Or do I need to give it to somebody who can jump rope and get some use out of it instead of just sitting there as something to remember? So there's some things I might need to get rid of. And unfortunately, there may be some people that won't be helpful to carry forward in your next chapter of your life, that you've learned some things about some people that just aren't good for you to have in your life. And you may have other people that are. In my case, I got involved with the cancer support community of Pasadena, and I met some people that I never knew, but they have become part of my support system. So moving forward, I spend time with them once a month. We meet. So I want you to think about this month, this week, what things do I need to pick up and move forward? And what things do I need to leave behind? Because you don't need to pick up everything. So moving forward for us has to do with a little bit of a change in direction. I have been motivated to do life coaching. And so I now want to help people to move forward. And so to that end, we've started coaching practice. I've been trained. I have a certificate. I'm still doing some training, but we're doing that. So if you're interested in getting coaching, then you can go. I'm offering a free 15-minute discovery session. You see that on the ribbon below. If you go to Calendly, and there you can sign up and you can get sign up for a free 15-minute coaching session, discovery session, and we can help figure out what it is that you want to do and then decide how you want to take it from there. But I encourage you to do that. And also, if you're interested in our story, then the book is still available. You can go to our website, which was ourjourneysoffaith.com, or hbdotson3.com, and you can go there and you can purchase a book and read about this story. And I think it will be helpful for you there too. So again, think about what you would want to carry forward and what things that you would want to leave behind, and think about it. And hopefully that'll help you as you prepare to move forward. So until next week, take care, and I hope to see you then. Bye bye.